Okay, welcome back. The final step here in assembly is to attach the top after the plugs are in. What you're going to need for this one is you're going to need glue, you're going to need a ruler, a pencil, a drill for just putting in screws, and 4 of the same screws you use to attach your legs to your stretchers. You do not need to pre-drill for this one, so we're down to 1 drill, okay? So we flipped our top over, and we're going to need to center this assembly onto our top. Now, I drew a lot of extra stuff on the bottom of our top that you do not have to draw. I just did it for visual aids to help you guys out. Okay, so the objective here is to center this. We want this dead center, and we want to mark it on our project, so when we're ready to glue it, we can just put glue, 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 and then we can just set it on here without smearing it around trying to center it, and then we put our screws in. So if we can pre-center this and just mark the corners, so again, ignore all this stuff, but just mark the corners really lightly, because you're gonna have to sand it off later. I got a mess to clean up, but to just center the corners when you have glue, then we're gonna be in great shape. Okay, so the question is then, how do you center this? Okay. Now, everybody's project might be a little bit different. You know, how accurate did you make the bandsaw cuts? Did you have to make any modifications to square everything up, make everything look nice? I can't just tell everybody that this distance is going to be the same for them and just give you a number and go. So you're going to have to center it yourself. So this is where variables come in. Okay, as you can see, I have a distance here, and I labeled it X inches. Hopefully you can see that. And then if that distance is X, this distance will need to be X. All that means is that they're the same. Okay, now if we look on the other side, I have the same thing. I have distances X in inches and X in inches. So that means all 4 of these dimensions have to be the same number. Now, some people, it might be perfectly an inch. Some people, it might be 15/16 or an inch and a 16th, somewhere, you know. It doesn't matter, as long as if they're all the same, this is perfectly centered. So find that number and center it. The next thing we'll have to do is centering for this direction, okay? And for that, it's very likely going to be a different number. You can kind of just by looking here, you can see how much bigger X should be than Y, depending on how accurately you made your cuts, okay? But, so that distance is gonna be Y, and that distance will be Y. So again, these are all going to be the same number, but because they're not necessarily going to be this number, I had to choose a different variable. So as long as this is Y, this is Y, this is Y, this is Y, they're all the same number, it will be centered. So if we're good here, if all the Y's are the same distance, if all the X's are the same distance, this is perfectly centered. All I want you to draw on your project are these small, just little corner, a little corner, little corner, little corner, because you're going to have to sand or erase those off. If you draw a big, heavy, look like a crime scene chalk line of this entire thing, you're going to have a ton of sanding to do. So again, don't draw all those X's and Y's. I just did that for a visual aid for you guys. Okay, so now we're ready to assemble. We got all our supplies. Now remember, time things out. If I'm about to yell cleanup, you may not want to start putting glue down, because once you put glue down, you're committed to finish assembly. You can't just put glue down and then I yell clean up and go, oh, I'll put the screws in tomorrow. You're committed. You got to put those screws down, because glue doesn't work unless there's pressure on it for at least an hour. Okay, and again, for our constant pressure, we're going to use wood screws. In other projects, in other classes, sometimes we use clamps to keep that pressure, but sometimes we use air nails too. So again, all fun stuff in woods too, which I hope you guys sign up for after this. Okay, what I'm doing right now is I'm smearing the glue around for 2 reasons. 1, to make sure it spreads well. Second, it'll keep the glue from collecting, pooling together, and then dripping. You spread out the surface area, the glue won't come together and make a dripping mess. So again, I kind of scrape my finger off at the end. Again, if you got a little on your finger, it's fine. Just damp paper towel or just rinse it off, okay? All right, so now we're gonna try to hit our marks, those little corners, dead on, without smearing it around too much. Okay. Looks pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit of down pressure just to kind of, hopefully that glue kind of tacks it in place a little bit. Got my drill. Now again, no pre-drilling needed for this one. You know, we were worried about pre-drilling going into the leg because this long of a screw going into the side of a leg could easily split it. You're only gonna have about 5/8 of this drill bit going into your top of your project. Okay, so you don't have to worry, that's not gonna split your top. Good down pressure, you don't want, when that drill bit spins, you don't want that spinning your project. So I'm pushing down on the drill and pushing down on my project. I can actually start that one, just get the tip of that screw to start poking into the wood, and then I'll go to the opposite corner and put this one in. Now, again, oh, there I felt the torque in the drill. I felt the project kind of sink down. Things got tight. Look at that, the glue started squirting out there. So that's a really good sign too that you're tight enough. If you drill too far, it will poke through the top of your top, and then every time you step on it, you're gonna poke yourself in the foot with a screw tip. So again, I kind of feel it there, and just like when we assembled the others, you can use this as a regular screwdriver if you want. It's kind of easier to feel how tight things are getting if you're not just using the battery and the drill motor. Ooh, heard a little crunching in there too. That's another good sign that you're probably done. Okay. Again, you can look in there, see if those screws kind of got flush with the bottom of your counter bore. You should look to see if everything pulled tight right now. Okay, if you have a big air gap here, we should address it. It may just be as simple as tightening that screw a little more. It may be a problem with, maybe you had a warped board and maybe the warp was this way and it didn't pull tight enough. While the glue is wet is the time to address it. If it is a problem, I've got those blue quick grips over there. Those have the least strength, but they're really quick and easy to use, and if they work, great, go for it. Those wooden Jorgensen clamps just below the brooms, those have a ton of clamping power. They have 2 threaded pieces that really can pull tight. You can flag me down, you can ask for some help trying to get that tight. I think we're okay. So mine came together pretty well. You can tell my top had a little bit of a warp to it, so it's tight here, but a little open there. That's probably my biggest complaint on my assembly. This got really tight, nice and flat. That's good, I'm happy with that. You can see how tight it is here. Again, might have had a little warp to my top, but that's okay. It's still a good step stool. Okay, so really happy with that. If you're ahead and you just want to do more stuff, make your project that much nicer, you could make more plugs. That was just scrap wood. So if you want to make more plugs to put in this, you can. You don't have to though. It's just cosmetic and it's on the bottom. No one's ever going to see it. So if you're in catch-up mode, I would definitely skip that. Couple next things we can do is wood burn in the bottom. I'll probably skip that step. I don't think you need a demo of that. My pro tip for that is just to pencil kind of where you want a wood burn. Let the wood burner get hot. Careful not to melt through the wire or burn yourself, obviously. Put your name in it somehow, initials, full name, whatever. Roughly when you made it, a date, something like that. So you can do that at this point if you want to. Kind of our last step before putting on the clear coat would be leveling the project, and we'll do that in our next video. And in the meantime, I'll clean up all that pencil marks I made too. So we'll see you there.